So it's kind of ironic that like good news, by which I mean interesting news, is bad news. And that's what this episode is all about. Horrific news. Whoa, there's a lot to take in right here, but nobody wants to sit in their busy life and watch a 1 hour and 18-minute video. So I'm going to try to sum it up for you guys. Let's start from the beginning.
Sometimes, however temporarily, they are very clearly getting worse. Yesterday, father and son Islamists killed 15 people in a chilling anti-Semitic terrorist attack on Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah on Bondi Beach in Australia. The knee-jerk reaction of many on social media was again to blame all Muslims, but it very quickly emerged that one of the heroes of the day was Ahmed al-Ahmed, a 43-year-old Muslim fruit seller who risked his own life to save countless others. You're perfectly entitled to have a view that every immigrant from a Muslim country should be kicked out of the West. But you have to reckon with the fact that it's divisive and reductive, because people like Ahmed al-Ahmed, who is a Syrian immigrant to Australia, are exactly the type of people we should want in our countries, no matter which God they pray to. It should be possible to loathe and condemn anti-Semitism.
You know, I always had problems with like these lone shooters or these like isolated incidents with when it's like obvious Muslim terror, terrorist behavior. The reason I've always had issues with it, because like if you're a part of a religious movement or cult, whatever you want to call it, and you're trying to make a difference, why do they always go after the people who have nothing, who are not even in politics or any position to where killing them would make anything better for the terrorist that's doing the killing? Like, it's not either killing some head of a country or some kind of cartel drug lord to where if you get rid of them, life will get better for you. It's always like pointless killings. And it's like, are Muslims that off? Because I'm Arab, I'm not Muslim, but they're usually pretty strategic. The ones I know, they wouldn't just do something stupid and pointless like this shooting. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course it happens, but it happens so much. I always wonder, is this legit? Is this legit? But that's just the paranoia in me, because, you know, government's always lying to us. You never know what's real.
Without resorting to Islamophobia. Just as it should be possible to say BLM went much too far without being overtly racist. And that you disagreed with some of what Charlie Kirk said or believed without grotesquely celebrating his death as so many did. That was the position of Hollywood legend Rob Reiner, who along with his wife Michelle was murdered in horrific circumstances this weekend. When you first heard about the murder of Charlie Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Well, horror, absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him.
Really quick, I'll give you some context in case you don't know. But Rob Reiner was never Trumper. He had TDS really bad. He couldn't stand Trump. Now that Trump's turned on his own party and everything, I don't know. Now I don't know. I have to reevaluate everything. So I don't know if he was wrong or not, because we thought they were just crazy leftists, right? But I'm thinking that's going to come into play, because I don't know what happened. Trump did something that disgusted a lot of people about something he said about this guy right here. I haven't seen that yet, so I'll be watching it like you right now.
And that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, that the memorial they had, was exactly right.
The default Cenk Uygur. Donald Trump has gone on his Truth Social platform to talk about Rob Reiner. Now, I interviewed Rob Reiner on the show 3 months ago. And aside from what he just said about Charlie Kirk, as we just heard, which was, I thought, extraordinarily gracious, given he politically disagreed with almost everything Charlie Kirk stood for, notwithstanding that, Rob Reiner just got brutally murdered, along with his wife. It appears by their son, who's had many years of battling drug addiction and homelessness, and appears to have gone crazy and stabbed them both to death in the most barbaric of circumstances, is now under arrest with a $4 million bail. Donald Trump has just posted this. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. I gotta say, Chad.
Okay, I gotta say, that was disgusting and rough. I don't want to sound like the mainstream, but that was so effed up. I mean, for a couple of reasons. I mean, Trump almost died just a year ago, a little over a year ago. And there are a lot of people who kept saying, you missed, why did you miss? Just making like comments saying that they wanted him, they wish he would have died. So you think Trump would have had some kind of sympathy right there. But fine, let's say it's over a year and some months ago, it's out of his mind, out of sight, out of mind. But Charlie just died, and people just did that to Charlie. They just kept going and calling him names and spitting on his graves and peeing on his grave. Whatever, any memorial they had, they would tear it down. He just saw this. What the hell is he talking about? And how did he make it about himself? I mean, dude got murdered by... 2 people got murdered. Screw you and your politics, Trump. And let me explain that. In case you don't know, but I was a big Trump supporter just until a few months ago. Voted for him 3 times, and I thought, he was righteous and legit. I just found out the hard way that no, Trump is nothing but selfish. I guess people were kind of right about that. And I'm not a leftist. If anything, I'm the opposite. I'm not going to be some kind of cult follower and just, lap up that bullshit they're trying to tell us about what Trump's doing. No, everything's been doing this, especially this term, has been disgusting. Lies after lies, promises broken, and made me think like Cenk Uygur, this guy right there. I couldn't stand him before. Now I really respect the guy because I finally just listen to what they're saying and not what other people are saying about them. So I'm thinking more middle, because the right disgusted me after all this censoring of people, after killing kids in Israel. I don't care what anyone says, you should never be a part of that. Anyways, my point is this: how could he say something like that and make it about himself and about his woes when he's a billionaire president? I'm sorry, you probably want to hear the famous people more than me, so let's go.
That just crosses every line of just basic human decency to me. Rob Reiner was murdered last night by his troubled, unhinged son. And to make political capital, and what angers me about it is there was all the outrage from Trump supporters, rightly, when the left mocked Charlie Kirk after he was murdered. And I thought we'd reached a kind of consensus that this, whatever side of the divide you're on, this is just unacceptable. That when people get murdered, you just show basic respect. And it's just happened as we came on air. And I just thought we've got to start with this, because when you're the most powerful man in the world, listen, everyone knows I've known Trump a long time. But this is one of those times when many times he's been like this when big public figures have died. I remember it with John McCain.
Well, you saw that I came on here and I was brokenhearted when Charlie Kirk was killed. And I condemned the people celebrating it because, my God, if you're part of the peace movement, you're on the left, etc. We're supposed to be for nonviolence more than anybody else. So, and that was disappointing at that time. And then Donald Trump, among others, said it was the most outrageous thing they'd ever seen. For him to do it now to Rob Reiner, I mean, and for what? For what? I mean, did this guy advocate for some heinous thing? Not at all. And here's what I want people to understand about Rob Reiner. So he was obviously an enormous figure in Hollywood. Some of the movies that we all love, like Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, etc., right? But on top of that, here's something that no one could argue with. Rob Reiner was a true American patriot. He loved this country. Now, whether you agreed with him or disagreed with him on any issue, he's a guy who put his heart into this country and always tried to make it better. You could see patriots like that, whether they're on the right or the left. Is this what you wanted? Is this the ha-ha, you're dead kind of mentality that you wanted? It sounded like after Charlie died that you really, really didn't want that you thought it was a terrible thing to do.
Well, that's the point.
Excuses.
Yeah, look, that's the point, Gillian, that I would make, is it's going to be very interesting to me what people on the conservative right in America say by way of their reaction to what Donald Trump has said here.
Yes, this is going to be very interesting because anyone, I don't care if anyone tries to talk their way out of Trump, what he did, or trying to defend Trump, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just stop the video. Because that's bullshit. I don't care. There's no way you can justify it. And that's the problem with Trump right now. The reason he's getting away with, like, not following his promises and stuff like that is because cowards on the right, especially conservative media, like Benny Johnson or Tim Pool or, you know what I mean, Dave Rubin, there's a lot of them. Liz Wheeler, they're all cowards who care more about their job than they do about the people. And that would be cool if they were honest about that. But they made their money tearing into the people on the left for following Biden or any Democrat, like a cult member, hive mind, and they're doing the same thing. And so if we stop coddling Trump, like, because he's like an 80-year-old big fat baby, maybe if we stop coddling him and start judging him fairly, maybe he would have kept some promises. But let's find out what they're going to say. I'm sure it'll be annoying, but let's find out.
Because if there's any support for this from MAGA, from his supporters, his friends, from anyone, then it flies completely in the face of that whole debate after Charlie Kirk, when so many on the left behaved disgustingly. I remember calling it out at the time. And then here, the idea that he was murdered because of something to do with his views of Donald Trump.
I completely agree with you and Cenk here. I will say that when I woke up and learned about this, it was on Brandon Tatum's Instagram, and he actually showed the clip of you talking to Rob Reiner. So my hope is that any reasonable person on the right or the left finds political violence disgusting, any support of it disgusting, and I'm with both you and Cenk. There's zero pushback over here. I'm extremely disappointed in the way Trump.
It's not even.
All right, let's clarify something though. This wasn't political violence. This was their son who killed them. So I think she's kind of mixing the two up. Maybe she's referring to what happened with Charlie Kirk, but his son, he did it, and he's been arrested, $4 million bail. All right, but let's continue.
There's not even a suggestion it's political violence in this case, right? We don't know why the son did this.
Well, either way, if Trump was trying to imply that it was because of Trump derangement syndrome, any violence of any kind,
I don't think he was.
Reprehensible. I'm not quite sure exactly what he was trying to imply, but I'm disappointed by his response. I have yet to see anybody on the right endorse that statement or celebrate the death of Rob Reiner. I certainly hope we don't, and I promise you that I would absolutely condemn anybody who does that.
Right.
I'm
let me bring
with you
Wajah in. I want to play a clip. This is another clip from the interview I did with him. I spoke to him for 45 minutes, literally in mid-September. It was a great interview, and I was very struck, actually, by the more mollifying tone that he took throughout this interview about Trump, who he has been very critical of in the past. There's no question. He's ranted away about Trump like many in Hollywood have done. But in that interview, he struck a very different tone. And I feel very strongly about this. I think that you can absolutely go after Donald Trump in an aggressive way, but calling him Hitler or calling his supporters Nazis, I think crosses every acceptable line.
It doesn't get you where you want to be. I don't really know very many things that I agree with him on, but I also feel that if you go name calling like that, it's not going to get you what you want. You have to rally people around the things that you agree with that are in disagreement with Donald Trump. And to me, the one area that, again, we both agree on is the freedom of speech and in the Constitution, First Amendment.
There's an irony there with Jahat about the name calling, because I don't know what Donald Trump thinks he'll achieve with this rant about Rob Reiner, as his body is still warm from this brutal murder. But whatever he thinks it will achieve, it will only, I think, anger and disappoint a lot of Americans, if not all Americans. And I just don't understand why he would use his gigantic platform so soon after someone is murdered to do this.
The harsh truth is, this is who Donald Trump is. This is who he has always been. He's been cruel. He's been vulgar. He's lacked empathy. I mean, you just saw this right now. I'm glad you brought it up because I read it right before I came on your show. Rob Reiner and his wife, it seems that they were brutally and tragically murdered by their son, who apparently had mental health issues and drug problems. He was a beloved director. And you're seeing Donald Trump right now, who is the president of the United States, folks. He's the commander-in-chief. He's the representative of our country. And you just hope any president, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. What they say is, this is a terrible tragedy, thoughts and prayers. Simple as that. But we've seen Donald Trump just even recently with Erica Kirk. I was on your show, and we all praised. It was a consensus amongst the panel that when she forgave the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, we all said that was very brave and a beautiful thing to do at the Arizona rally. What did Donald Trump do right after she said it? She goes, I don't forgive. I'm not as forgiving. Like, why would you say that? And then also after he survived the assassination attempt, if you remember at the RNC, Piers, he had that patch on his ear. They gave him a script. He was supposed to be decent, kind, meditative for the first 20 minutes. And then he mocked and ridiculed Paul Pelosi, who survived an assassination attempt by David DePape. So this is who he is. And Piers, if I may say, he's been like this for 10 years. I've been saying it. Chank's been saying it. Roland's been saying it. For everyone waking up today, where you been? This is who he is.
Well, where I've been, I've always called it out when he's done it after people die. I think there's a particularly distasteful aspect, and I'll bring Emily in here. When people have just been murdered, whether it's Charlie Kirk, whether it's Rob Reiner, it doesn't matter to me what their politics are. When they've been brutally murdered, the only decent, civilized, human thing to do is to just be respectful or do nothing. If your genuine feeling is what he's just ranted, well, don't say it.
Right. I feel like as the president of the United States, he does not, with all due respect, have any obligation to need to tweet about Rob Reiner. I feel like he has other things going on, and that's reasonable. If I were in Trump's inner circle, would I had told him to post this? Probably not. I'd suggest strongly for him to just not say anything at all. The first I'm ever hearing of Rob Reiner is that he has Trump derangement syndrome, and that still doesn't change any of my empathy towards him. I didn't know who he was. I'm hearing now he was talented. In fact, one of the first impressions I've had of him was Donald Trump's tweet. But I really think we're doing a disservice by drawing parallels from this to political violence, even bringing up Charlie Kirk's murder. I get why you brought it up, Piers, because you're saying, well, if you don't like how the left celebrated his death, don't celebrate this. But nobody's celebrating Rob Reiner's death. I hope, as Julian said,
it sounds like Donald Trump is getting. Yeah, but look, it does sound like he's getting pretty close to it. I mean, when he says that, he got killed reportedly due to the anger he caused others with his mind-crippling disease, Trump derangement syndrome. There is zero evidence for any of that. He got killed by his deeply disturbed son after what the TMZ and New York Post and others are reporting was a terrible family argument. The son, Nick, who's now 32, was a screenwriter who battled and talked openly made a film about drug addiction, homelessness, and so on. But apparently, used whatever kind of implement to slit the throats of his parents.
Yeah.
I
hear you. I'm not justifying it. I don't
think there's any political motivation for this attack whatsoever. But Donald Trump has made it political by inferring very clearly that this happened because Rob Reiner attacked him. And that to me is where...
I disagree. I disagree, Piers. I'll tell you what I think his intention was, and I will also preface by saying he did not get the message across. I feel like his intention was, hey, everybody, look, although this man hated me, and although he had Trump derangement syndrome, he ended it, putting us together with "May they rest in peace," whatever. I feel like what his intention was even though I disagree with him, the guy died, and I'm sorry for him. He did that in possibly the worst way.
Stop it.
And I just don't feel like this is really shocking to anybody here. I feel like we've all been following Trump over the last 10 years. And as Wajahat said, that's his style. You like it or not, that's who he is. This tweet was wrong, but it's not, necessarily so shocking for all of us to see. And also, it shouldn't be blown out proportion.
I actually did find it quite shocking. And I have known Trump a long time. I am a friend of Trump's, good, bad, and ugly. And I got to say, Roland, there's no defense for this.
There's no defense. I don't know what the hell I just heard. Let's be clear. He has no morals, no values, no decency, no ethics, no principles. This is who he is. This is not a shock at all. He's a narcissist. He is someone who makes everything about him. And so this is who this man is. This is who he was, not in the last 10 years, Piers, but going back to when he was descending down those escalators. Going before that, the whole thing with Obama and the birther. This is who this man is.
Well, he's always been a trash talker.
So I'm not shocked.
Hang on a second. Look, he's always been a trash talker. Right, he's a New York real estate guy. He's a trash talker, and I would say, I know, I'm going to come to that. In relation to general trash talk, my God, the left talk trash about him, right? As I said in that clip, so all the Hitler stuff and Nazi stuff, all that, it's a two-way street. The trash talking. This is a particular thing. Which angered me. It angered me when I saw his reaction to Colin Powell dying, to John McCain dying. I just think there's just got to be on all sides when public figures like this die, whether they're great politicians or they're great movie people, whatever it is, there just has to be a basic decency. If people get killed or murdered or whatever it is, or die after great lives and careers, just either be decent or don't say anything.
Here's the deal. This all sides is nonsense. First, listen, the regular average person who's out there on social media, that's one thing. But it's called being a statesman for a reason. I'm literally sitting here. I grabbed my book, Master of the Senate, of LBJ, and it was amazing. Cairo talks about how LBJ, how when he was president, how he spoke and moved differently publicly than he did when he was majority leader of the Senate, because he saw the presidency and the respect for the institution. This person has none. This is no shock. There's a reason I don't even call him president, because he does not rise to the occasion in that way. This is who he is. He will degrade people. He will say these things. I am not shocked by it because he is despicable in this way. Well, and there's no defense. There's no, I think he meant, he meant exactly what he wrote.
Okay, look, I want to move on to Australia, but I do want to end by just playing a clip, another clip from that interview with Rob Reiner, which I think is a nice way to remember him, because ironically, I said to him, because we've just been talking about Charlie Kirk, I said, Rob, when the day comes when you're no longer with us, and I hope it's not for a long time, very ironic given what's now happened, but I said, I would love to know, out of all your movies, which one would you choose? And he said this: should the moment come when we need to remember the work of Rob Reiner, which is the one for you of everything you've ever done that you would most like to be remembered for?
I always say Stand By Me, to me, is the one that meant the most to me. I don't know that it's the best. It's for other people to decide, but it's the one that meant the most to me because it really is an extension of my personality and my sensibility. It has a mixture of humor and melancholy and emotion, and it's something that is closest to me of all the films I've done.
And he went on to say a really moving thing, which was, I said my favorite one of his movies was When Harry Met Sally, which I think in many ways is almost a perfect movie. Brilliantly written, brilliantly directed, brilliantly acted, and a perfect length. And he talked about the fact that it was about 90 minutes. And he said the number of people that would come up to him who said on New Year's Eve, which obviously we're just a few weeks away from now, on New Year's Eve, they would start watching it at 10:30. at night on New Year's Eve, so that at the precise moment of the New Year's Eve denouement to the movie, people would actually celebrate the new year and how much he loved that. And that is actually how I'd love Rob Reiner to be remembered, as somebody who actually moved people with the power of his movies. And my God, he had so many great movies. And they were movies of warmth and love and humor and hope and all the things you would want in society. And that is how he should be remembered, I think. So,
Piers, can I make a quick comment about his amazing career? Just real quick. Just for Emily, if you want to go rent some of his movies. Rob Reiner had a generational run of movies for...
Anyways, guys, basically, that was the best part of the show. I mean, not, you know what I mean? Like, the part you probably want to see the most. But, for a recap, what I was trying to say earlier is Trump... We're realizing now what he did to MTG and $20 million to make sure she doesn't win her next election, even though the people voted for her. That was his number one supporter. He did that to her. Went after Thomas Massey and Rand Paul. We already know this. He did it because he wasn't being worshipped by them, and because they were making them look bad. Because that was supposed to be stuff he should have been leading the charge on. We have to recognize that Trump's either he's changed or he's just hit it really well until now, and we can't just let shit. You know what I mean? Make people make promises and just say, okay, never mind. Everyone needs to be held responsible. Whether it's, I'm not talking about just like criminally. I'm talking about like if you can't keep promises and you're in politics, you shouldn't be in politics. They shouldn't. They don't deserve it. Anyways, guys, take care, and God bless Rob Reiner and his wife, because I don't know him. I don't know anything about him, but that's just sad. Death is sad and all, in general. Take care.